Hello, I'm Ron Baker. Welcome to Empowered at Last. Today we're going to talk about a big subject, what I hope will be a very comforting subject. Understanding that until we embrace the reality of a soul journey, so many other things in the world and in our lives have way too much pressure. What do I mean? Let's start with a clear map. We have three distinct levels of potential: the wonder of child consciousness, the empowerment of adult consciousness, and the greatness of soul consciousness. All three exist in us from the time we are born. These also demonstrate the three minds that we all have. The adult is the conscious mind. It exists here in the heart chakra. The child consciousness represents the subconscious, which is the lower energy centers, the first three energy centers from the base of the spine all the way up to the solar plexus. The greatness of soul consciousness is accessed from an activation of the upper three chakras, the superconscious mind. We can perceive life from any of these perspectives. The goal is to marry the superconscious and the subconscious into an expansion of our conscious mind awareness. What do I mean? Most people go through life very ruled by the programming or the imprints or the early experiences of the subconscious mind. In the first 8 years of life, we literally take in everything that we experience and we create impressions of our physical, emotional, and mental selves. This equals the combination of our personality. Unfortunately, so much of the time, we don't even remember the impressions, the experiences, and certainly not the decisions that we made about ourselves and about life from the time we were 5, 6, 7 years old. Those definitions that quantified whatever our early experiences were become the edges of our comfort zone. They are what our nervous system believes is true about life. For instance, if we didn't get nurtured, we will have personalized in the limbic brain, nurturing is not really possible for me. What do I mean by for me? The limbic brain, the survival feeling brain, is personalizing everything that we take in. So if in our first 8 years of life, we did not receive the 9 levels of nurturing that we all need, then to some degree, we're going to take in the message, I do not deserve to be nurtured. That is not possible for me. The good news is that whatever the setup of your early life, your soul is what sets that up for your lifetime. That outer ring of consciousness that most people are not aware of consciously at all. This is the first level that makes it so important for us to understand that each of us is a sacred individual on a soul journey. Otherwise, we can get caught up in what I was taught as a child. You have one lifetime, and then it's followed by an eternity of heaven or hell, reward or punishment. None of that made sense to me when I was a little kid because I couldn't understand how it would be fair. Why is this person born in one set of circumstances and another person born in a completely different set? Why is one person wealthy? One person is not. One person has easy intelligence and another one does not. None of that made sense to me. And then one lifetime and then eternal reward and punishment. That is way too much pressure until we understand a soul journey. When we begin to embrace a soul journey, then we can understand that you and myself, we both get a setup in the first 8 years of our lives that is perfect for our particular journeys. I got the setups physically, emotionally, and mentally that I needed. I got nurtured or missing nurturing needs in the way that was perfect for me. As an example, I had a father who never said a single thing to me growing up. I so desperately wanted his acknowledgement, his validation, his love, ultimately, from the time I was little, and I got nothing. This was perfect on a soul level for the setup of this lifetime. But it didn't feel perfect to me as a child. It felt horrible to me as a child. So if I got stuck just in my wounded child consciousness, that would run the rest of my life. Only when I begin to understand my soul journey and the fact that all of us have first grade lifetimes until we learn how to navigate that curriculum, and then we naturally begin to focus on the next levels of life that interests us, just like when we were in first grade and then moved to second and fifth and 10th, etc. Whatever we were ready for because of what we'd built prior, we naturally look to more of self and more of life. That is the growth into our potential, from child to adult to soul. The challenge is we have not lived on a planet that has embraced soul consciousness from a practical, grounded perspective, understanding what it actually means and how it applies to you and me. When I was able to begin to understand, oh, this is not just one lifetime where I have to deal with whatever hand I've been given, whatever hand of cards is what I'm referring to, that I've been given, and that's it? And this is just random luck of the draw? No, not this at all. On a soul perspective, there is divine order. On a soul perspective, I got the setup that I needed. Now let me explain to you exactly how and why that serves me. I did not get nurtured, acknowledged, even seen enough to have a single conversation from my father growing up. This left me with tremendous self-doubt and seeking approval. This taught me a lot about looking outside the self for validation. Now, I happen to have a career, my first career, that took me all over the world performing leading roles in Broadway and in opera. I got tons of validation. I signed autographs. I had all kinds of opportunity. Do you think that solved my wound inside, where I doubted my own value? No, it did not. Validation outside myself, which is what my child level of consciousness believed was the goal and the resolution, is not the resolution at all. Yay, I'm grateful for the opportunities. That is not the point of this conversation at all. However, I eventually had to see the hole in my myth. That outer validation, whether it was my dad or whether it was others, was not the solution to feeling self-value. Listen to the word, self-value. I needed to learn how to value myself. The soul perspective knew this all along, set this up, and not only sent me on a journey to learn how to value myself, which I'm thrilled to tell you I've spent 25 years building and deepening, and I live in a profound level of trust in my own value because of what I've built, because of the choices I make, because of my own focuses, perspectives, and choices. I built a sense of self-value. Not because I performed all over the world. Yay, I'm thrilled that I had those opportunities. I'm thrilled to have discovered some gifts and talents. But that is not why I was able to build a sense of self-value. That comes from seeing the deeper truths about who we are. When I began to look at myself and I said, what do I value? What don't I value? What choices am I making that leave me feeling great about myself, proud of myself, happy to be me? What choices are not setting me up well, that diminish me feeling great about myself? What qualities do I practice? What qualities do I even value? Value in other people? Once I began to put together more and more clues about the qualities and essence of myself, I realized I was in a position of power to deepen my self-value by whatever I focused on and whatever I chose. It was up to me. It was not up to my Father. However, more wisdom in the soul perspective is that it taught me how much we all need nurturing caregivers, in this case, a nurturing father, who offers some of those 9 nurturing needs to us, such as clear guidance, support, and encouragement, acknowledgement, compassion, connection, etc. I needed that. We all need that. How important is having nurturing caregivers? Well, what did that empower me to do? To become a giver, a nurturer, what I like to call a proactive nurturer in my own life. I learned how to nurture myself, how to provide for myself these 9 nurturing needs, and then I was able to offer more of them to others. What do you think led to my career? Why do you think I'm here talking to you on this podcast? Because that's what I now do as my primary focus in life. My deepest life purpose came out of the perfection of what my child saw as wounding. I felt like a victim. But my adult began to look deeper. My soul set up the whole thing from the beginning, giving me the opportunity to grow as far as I decided to go. Nobody's saying, Ron, you have to go X amount of depths or layers. No. Once I began to see that my own choices could set me up better and better and better, I became inspired to go as deep as my years in this lifetime will allow me. I also began to consider what is perfect about first grade lifetimes, followed by second, third, fifth, etc. What is perfect about that? We are each making an eternal investment in our own soul journeys. So if you have built certain levels of awareness, certain levels of accumulated knowledge, certain depths of gifts that you have invested in and deepened, you have those to draw from in your soul memory. All of our lifetimes are gathered and held in the 6th dimension. We don't have to get too fancy because I don't have tons of time to go into that. But the 6th dimension holds your oversoul, your collective of all the lifetimes that you've lived. You deciding to show up for you in this lifetime is more than enough motivation. But when you consider the soul perspectives, you are making an eternal investment in yourself when you show up to learn how to value you. So the takeaway, the call to action for this week is to begin to evaluate, do you tend to look at life from a wounded child perspective, feeling like a victim, unsure how to resolve the issues that reveal themselves in your life? Or do you feel much more like an empowered adult, clear about the tools that you need, clear how to get in touch with you, to discover your feelings and your needs and your preferences and your vision, to discover what is truly important to you and trust that you can move out to invest in those things in your life? That is some of empowered adult. Do you live from the peace of soul consciousness, trusting the perfection of all of life, not just your own life? It's just that if you start with your own life, it's easier to build a foundation of the bigger and bigger levels. I wish that for you. I have dedicated my life to creating a school of self-mastery that teaches about all three levels of consciousness, that teaches a very clear map to the whole self, W-H-O-L-E, the whole self. A school of self-mastery that provides tools and clarity, that provides modeling and encouragement of the 9 nurturing needs, that creates a clarity how to open into the empowerment of adult consciousness, how to reparent wounded child consciousness so that it can become the potential of wonder child consciousness, and then how to move through the initiations into soul integration. All of this is possible. What I encourage is for you to begin to evaluate, as I said, whether you are stuck in wounded child consciousness to the greatest extent, because believe me, it's not linear, that we're only in one of the three. Are you in child consciousness? Are you in empowered adult consciousness? Or are you in the peace of trust in your soul journey? Do you have the tools you need? If you do not, please reach out. Let me know where you are. Go to ronbaker.net. I assure you there are resources and tools that I can connect you with so that you can take powerful steps into trusting the soul perspective, perhaps for the first time in your life. That is the share for today. I look forward to talking over the next few weeks about soul consciousness more and more fully. Have a great week.